Hi, this is Sha Nacino. I'm an author of 14 books, and I'm also the founder of Write University and the 90-Day Book Writing Challenge. I'd like to welcome you and congratulate you for being part of the Jesus-Centered Life event. And I'm really happy that you are here, and I hope that my short talk will inspire you as well. So today I'd like to talk about Write with Jesus. So like what I shared in my introduction, I'm an author of 14 books, and I really believe that it was God who authored my journey as an author. So let me share with you the story on how I started to write a book. In my first year as an employee, I got buried in credit card debts. And at that time, I was sick and tired of my job. I wanted to quit my job, but I couldn't. Because number one, I was buried in debts and I had no savings. And number two, I asked myself, if I will resign, what will I do? Where will I go? I didn't know the answer. I suffered what you call the quarter life crisis. And so that really inspired me to start to invest in my personal development. I started to read books on money, attend seminars, and seek mentors. And finally, after 3 years, I was able to zero out my debts, and I was able to save and invest. And during that time, I was so surprised at what I was learning on money management because all these things were not taught in school. And I wanted to share what I learned to as many people as possible. So I started to share with my friends, and during colloquial conversations over lunch or dinner or snacks, I would tell them, hey, you know what? I learned that you need to zero out your debts and you need to save and invest, because if you don't zero out your credit card debts, you are draining money at a really fast rate, and apply the power of compounding. So that's how I would talk to my friends. And I realized that my friends would shy away from the conversation. They were uncomfortable talking about money matters. And so I had this strong desire to share the message on financial literacy to as many people as possible, but no one wanted to listen to me. And I remember in one of the seminars that I attended, the idea of writing a book came to mind. So it was a whole day seminar, and the speaker said, if you want to spread a message and make some money, you write a book, you record an album, and blah, 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 blah. So imagine, it was a whole day seminar. But all I was hearing was, Sha, write a book, write a book, write a book. It felt like a broken record, and I felt so uncomfortable because number one, I was not a writer. I was not a writer, and I did not like to write. I hated writing. I was not good at it. I remember in college, in UP Diliman, University of the Philippines Diliman, my original course was public administration. But in my first year in college, I was so tortured by the so many readings and essays that we needed to write. And so I decided to shift to business economics because I figured maybe it has more math. Because at that time, math was my favorite subject. I love math simply because if you know the formula, you're off to go, right? You practice a bit and you're off to go. You don't need to read or memorize anything. So the message, the idea of writing a book came to mind, and I felt so uncomfortable. So I decided to discard the idea. And I remember I would be at work, and I would hear a little steady voice telling me, Sha, write a book. And I felt like it was God telling me that. And I would wrestle with God. I would tell God, God, you know my weakness. You know that I don't like to write. You know that I'm not a writer. Why would you ask me to write a book? And the funny thing was, this happened for months. And I would wake up in the middle of the night, 2 a.m., and I would hear again a voice telling me, Sha, write a book. So this voice kept on ringing in my ears for months. And I felt so uncomfortable. And I would tell God, God, please ask me to do anything except writing. You know how much I struggled to write, and you know how much I hate writing. But I felt like God was telling me, Sha, write a book. You need to write a book. This is not for you. This is for the people who will be blessed by your book. And I really felt that, yes, logically, writing was the best way for me to share the message. I had this burning message, and I felt like I would commit the sin of omission if I kept the message to myself. And yes, I knew that writing a book would be the best way, but But because I had so many hesitations, I did not want to do it. I was not a writer. I did not like to write. I didn't know anyone from the publishing industry, and no one knew me. I did not know what it takes to write a book, what it takes to publish a book, etc. So I was clueless. But then God kept on telling me, Sha, write a book. Sha, write a book. And so finally, I decided to obey God and heed His call to write a book. And so I told God in my prayer, God, you know that I'm only doing this because I love you and I want to obey you. You know that I don't like to do this. So I felt like I was doing a sacrifice for God, and I was obeying Him even if I did not know how to go about what He was asking me to do. So anyway, I started to write my first book, and it was a trial and error method. So it took me 3 years to write and publish my first book because I had to study how to write a book, how to write a sentence, how to write a paragraph, how thick the book would be, etc. So I studied it like a math person. And you know what happened? In the process of writing my first book, I fell in love with writing. And I really loved it. Today, I cannot not write. I write every single day. And not only that, so since I fell in love with writing and I studied how to write a book, I created a formula for writing a book. It's just a 5-step formula wherein even if you are not a writer, you would still be able to write a book. The only skill you need for you to be able to write a book is the skill to write a sentence. If you know how to write a sentence, then you can write a book. Why? Because sentences make up a paragraph, paragraphs make up a chapter, and chapters make up a book. Simple, right? So I developed a formula for writing a book, and I applied it to myself. So 3 years, I wrote my first book in 3 years, and then I developed a formula, and I was able to write another book in just 1 day. And using that formula, I was able to write 4 more ebooks in a span of 6 months while working full-time for a bank. So anyway, now I'm sharing this with you because I love being obedient to God. Obedience bears so many good fruits, so many beautiful fruits. Obedience, even if you don't know where God is leading you. So after I wrote my first book, I got invited to speak in seminars and events and companies, and these seminar organizers and companies would ask me, Sha, how much will you charge for your speaking engagements, for your talks? At that time, I was still employed for a bank, and so I decided to forfeit my speaking fee, and I told them I will do the talks pro bono. And so I was speaking for 3 years. In August 2013, I quit my job so I could finally pursue my passion in writing and speaking full-time. And today, I've written 14 books. I've also helped people, I think about 100 or more than 100 people, write and publish their books through my signature online course called the 90-Day Book Writing Challenge. And the graduates of my online course, the 90-Day Book Writing Challenge, were also able to launch their books at the Manila International Book Fair, the biggest book fair in the Philippines, through Wright University, which is our brand. So and aside from that, so I quit my job, and then now I'm speaking. I do talks to companies, and now I charge. I remember in January 2014, a company invited me to speak, and that was the first month that I established my own business. And they were asking, Sha, how much will you charge? So I sent them a proposal, and for a 1-hour talk, they paid me half month of my previous salary. And so now I'm getting all these benefits. But you know what? Speaking for me is so much fun. I'll do it with or without payment. But because of the value that they get from the speaking engagements, they're willing to pay a price for it. And I'm also very happy that in 2018, I decided to go global and to speak to speak to non-Filipino audience. And I got invited to speak in India, the Maldives, Malaysia, Singapore, Dubai, and many other countries. And I'm so happy to be able to spread the message. And it all started when I heeded the call to write a book, when I heeded God's call to write a book. I also remember pre-COVID, whenever I would start writing a book, this is my secret, and I'm going to divulge to you my secret. I would go to the Blessed Sacrament and I would brainstorm with Jesus. So I'll bring my notebook and I would talk to him in prayer, and I would ask him, God, what do you want me to write about? And we would brainstorm the topics, we would brainstorm the thesis statement for my book, and also the chapters and the stories that I needed to include in the book, etc. And I really feel that I was able to write books through Jesus, through God, through the Holy Spirit. And I feel like, and this is also the reason why I believe it doesn't get to my head, because I know that everything comes from God. I am a vessel, and He flows through me. His ideas flow through me. And the reason I'm able to write so many books and teach people how to write books as well is because I listen to Him. I spend about 2 to 3 hours every single morning just having a date with God and just talking to Him about my concerns. And then during the day as well, I do my gratitude walks, and that's where I just talk to Him. I talk to Him about things I'm grateful for. And then at night, I spend another about 2 hours just Him and me talking about how my day went, sharing my dreams with Him, and things like that. And so that is the value of obeying God. And I really love this conference, Jesus-Centered Life, because if we put Jesus in the center of our lives, He has our back. Actually, Jesus has our back all the time, but sometimes we miss that if we're not in tune with Him, if we're not aligned, if we don't listen to Him. So it's so important to really make the intention or be intentional about spending time with Jesus. All right? So there, I just want to encourage you. Maybe God is asking you to do something, and maybe what He is asking you to do is outside of your comfort zone, and maybe like me, you would even feel like you're not equipped to do it. But you know what? If God calls you to do it, He will equip you. So I thought I was serving God. I thought I was sacrificing myself when I obeyed God and I followed His call for me to write a book. But actually, God gave me favor. God favored me, and God, this is just so beautiful, and I feel like God actually did me a favor. He asked me to write a book because He already saw what the beautiful things that can happen, the fruits of obedience. And so that's what I want to emphasize in my talk, that whatever you do, commit it to God, ask for God's insights, make Him your business partner, make Him your best friend. Share your ideas with Him and ask Him what He thinks about your ideas. Okay, so there, I hope you were inspired by this short sharing. And I really encourage you that if God is calling you to do something, even if you feel like you don't have the qualities or the desire to do it, just obey God. And obeying God is such a beautiful thing. Okay? So if you have any questions, or if you would like to connect with me, you may DM me on Instagram at Sha_Nacino. And also, remember, if there's a little voice inside you that tells you to write a book, pray to God about it. Ask God if it was Him asking you to do it. And if it's Him, always remember this. Write because you care and you have a message to share. Don't let anyone tell you that you cannot do something that you want to do. If you believe you can write a book, then you can write a book. Because again, if you can write a sentence, then you can write a book. So again, this is Sha Nacino. I hope to see you around. And yes, please do connect with me on Instagram at Sha_Nacino. I look forward to receiving your messages. God bless.